It's harsh, I'm sorry, you know, but what Bryson has is real innate grit, and you don't feel grit from Rory. You feel skill, you feel virtuosity, and you feel when he's in full flight, it's wonderful. But then when it's not, you feel the weight of being Rory McIlroy, the scrutiny it takes to be, you know, considered the greatest talent in the game. That scrutiny you have to accept with that, and you know, for a guy who's empathetic to what other people feel, wanting to not let everybody down, I just feel like Rory has a lot of sensitivity for a really top #1 type player, and it's not necessarily productive to not have, you know, to have that much conscience, so to speak. So
he said something interesting a couple of years ago. He said that when he won his 2 majors at the end of 2014, he played with a ruthlessness, and he felt uncomfortable with that, and that he thought he didn't need that to be successful, so he wasn't going to approach it in that same way.
Yeah, no, he did say he could compartmentalize that ruthlessness. That was his goal, not to be a ruthless person, but to be a ruthless competitor. But again, some of this stuff seems to be innate. And, you know, Rory, I just hope this doesn't keep him from staying in love with the game, because I think that's the only thing really that'll allow a rebound.
Brandel?
Look, I said at the top of the show tonight that, or this afternoon, that Rory had more pressure on him to win than anybody else in the field. The burden of expectation, it mounted. You know, it's like a heavy coat on a summer day. It had mounted from 2015 and just exponentially grew. And I think it grew quantum leap after the 2022 Open Championship at St. Andrews. I know that one had to hurt. This one, I think, would trump that one. But what I'd say is that they feed off each other. I think the reason he hasn't won since then is because his swing simply isn't as good as it was prior to that. 4 of his first 15 majors, he won 2 of those by 8 shots. I'm going to list all the people that have won 2 majors by 8 shots or more since 1900. Rory and Tiger. And that's it.
Yeah.
Just 2. And that forecasts into the future domination.
Yes.
But he changed his golf swing. His golf swing is not in the same place it was in 2014. It's deeper, and it tends to be across the line, and it comes from the inside. So yes, we can infer negative attributes mentally, but the contributing factor to that, more than anything, is the golf swing. It's like going to a test and you know you're not prepared. Can you relax? No. If you're prepared, you can relax.
Yeah.
And I think he goes there, and maybe he's done all the work, but there's a nagging pull left and a nagging flare out to the right that puts him a little bit on the edge. We saw it today.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll remember the putts at 16, and we'll remember the putt at 18. But if you go back and look at all those iron shots that he just didn't hit crisp enough.
I could say that all week. There were several through each round that felt like a weak right shot, or it was an opportunity that was not able to take advantage of. What I think was different this Sunday is how it started. To go out with the birdie right away, and then to have that stretch of, 4 birdies and 5 holes in the middle of the round, he gained traction. And I felt like that was always what was missing on those Sundays, where he couldn't make putts. The last U.S. Open in 2023, where he was in contention, he made 46 feet of putts. He could not gain traction. He made 126 feet of putts today. It's ironic that we're going to remember the short misses when so much of it was framed very differently today.
But I don't agree that it's a swing issue, Brandel. I think if you're looking for perfection, you can say it's a swing issue. He's had chances to win 3 majors in the last 2 years since St. Andrews with Cameron Smith, and he hasn't lost them because his swing deserted him at the wrong time. He lost it because his putting went slow, and when he had opportunities, he didn't seize the initiative. Last year at the U.S. Open, he came back and won over par. It's like he gets to the stage, and you saw him in Quail Hollow. He gets to Quail Hollow, and he just takes the opportunity and he seizes it and he runs off into the distance and he kills the opposition. He wins. He knows how to do it. There's enough golf game there to run off into the sunset and win tournaments. The difference in major championships is when the initiative is presented to him, he doesn't run off. The initiative today was presented on the back of 13 when he made that birdie to go 2 shots ahead. He played 14 really poorly. He played 15 really poorly. He played 16, 17, and 18 really poorly. That was the period of time to run off into the distance. And that's not just because all of a sudden he lost his swing. Mentally, he got on the precipice of winning this tournament, and instead of driving over the line, he hesitated. And if you hesitate with guys like Bryson around you, who is fearless and plays with fearlessness, you've got a problem. And that's what happened. Same with Wyndham Clark, fearless competitor. Same with Cameron Smith, fearless competitor. When the initiative was presented to them, they took it over Rory. That's what I think is the issue. And if you want to talk about perfection, I agree. There's a bit that can change in the swing. But you're telling me that Bryson is the finished article as a golfer? I mean, there's so many flaws you can pick in his game, and so many flaws you can pick in his swing. He hit 4 or 5 fairways today.
Not me.
You don't think so?
Not me.
You think
I think it's one of the best
better?
swing in golf. His
You
swing
do?
looks, oh, God, yeah. You know, people, don't get me wrong, I love Rory's golf swing. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. But he's now finished in the top 10 in the last 6 U.S. Opens. And he's averaged in those 6 U.S. Opens, because I just looked where he finished here in strokes gained approach, about 30th. Guess what they do not do? Win U.S. Opens. The guys that win U.S. Opens finish first, second, first, third, fourth. Brooks Koepka in U.S. Opens, first, second, most greens, and best iron shots, strokes gained approach. Rory consistently underperforms in his iron play. And that is the most important statistic.
He underperforms in the heat of battle, Brandel. Yeah. The first 3 days, he gets in position every single time.
I'm not arguing
doesn't close
with you.
the door. The reason he's not won majors is not because his game deserts him on Sunday. It's because he doesn't have the confidence to drive over the line like he does in PGA Tour events. That's the difference.
Well, maybe it's the confidence, and maybe it's the game, but what I'm getting at is...
Well, why can he do it in Quail Hollow, then?
I think it's...
Why can he dominate the field on a difficult golf course like Quail Hollow?
Not as much
golf
pressure.
Is golf.
No, it's not.
So it's a
Roger
pressure
has
situation.
A phenomenal line, and I believe it. At the highest level, golf is only hard when you care.
Yep.
And he cares more than anything.
But it's up to the player to take that pressure and alleviate it and put it in a different place that's going to drive you to performance.
I'm not saying he couldn't win a major championship if he found a very relaxed spot. But he was winning them by 8 when he was swinging down the line.
Why can he dominate in Quail Hollow? He blew the field away. That was the best players on the PGA Tour. He blew them away. Xander Schauffele, playing as good as Xander Schauffele can play. He dominated and blew them away. So what's the difference there?
Yeah, I don't know. Comfortable place there, not a major
that's to the point about mental.
Able to fly the bunkers.
That's the point about mental.
He could fly all the trouble. He could, you know, the trouble at 16 there is 330 off the tee. Guess who could fly it? One person, Rory. He could fly it. He could get it over the corner. It's like...
But
like
he wasn't missing 4-foot putts, Brandel.
What's that?
When he got a chance, he wasn't missing 4-foot putts, not because he could fly at places.
Yeah, but what makes him nervous, the reason there was so much pressure on those 4-foot putts, otherwise he'd have been ahead by 5, is because his iron play wasn't sharp enough. If he'd have been first in strokes gained approach or second in strokes gained approach, he'd have had so many putts that were 5 feet, 10 feet, 8 feet. He'd have been 4 in front, not 2, or 5 in front, not 2. And he doesn't miss the putt at 16, and he wouldn't miss the putt at 18, and he'd have won by 6, 7, or 8.
But you're looking at perfection. You're looking at perfection.
No,
the golf is a game of imperfection and misses, and you got to take the roll of the dice when it goes against you and you lose a little bit of game. You got to find a way of making par.
I was going to say just that Bryson is the example of somebody who didn't have his A game today. He may have been the better swing, better iron player, but he was able to persevere through the adversity. And when Rory started to flip up in his game on 14, started hitting it left, he didn't have that extra reserve.
Quickly, how'd Pinehurst do this week?
I thought Pinehurst did really well. I mean, they didn't go extreme. They stayed pretty reasonable. They could have got it to an even par winner, but I think the 6-under winner was a nice balance. I think you saw the roll-offs, enough of them to know that that's what, you know, the meticulous shot making was going to reward, but it didn't punish unnecessarily.